Fee, fi, for fuck's sake, everyone. This is Never Surrender by the Squinters, number 4, and fair warning from the start, there might be some blue language used emotionally and descriptively by the Squinters tonight to fully realise our response to the way the Giants actually surrendered. However, if language does concern you, let it not. Just go with it. Your Giants would have used fuck a lot last night. You probably saw some of them say fuck in slow-mo. I didn't, because I wasn't really watching. And they're only 4 letters, like any other letters, and if used to describe situations rather than people or an activity, then I think it's fair use. And it's not original. Indeed, according to the archaic British dictionary I was looking at this afternoon, the original Anglo-Saxons were basically German, in which language there is the word ficken, meaning to hit, strike or pound. You know what I'm saying?
Fact.
There you are. And then after 1066, the Norman conquest brought the word foutre, a word in turn taken from the Latin futuo, meaning, well, to fuck. After which, the great Scottish poet and friar William Dunbar used it in his fabulous poem, One Bout of Wooing in early 1500 and something. He held fast, he kissed and fondling, as with the feeling he was overcome, it be his manner, he would have fucked, you break my heart, my lovely one. So what you're going to hear from this pod tonight is basically a lot of angry poetry. Welcome to Never Surrender by the Squinters. My name is Needles and I'm hosting your squinting couch session tonight, and I'm joined in person, live and near the grandstand by pod favourite Cheese and new chum Lawso. Gentlemen, how are we?
Going well, thanks, Needles. Lovely to be here on a crisp Sydney winter night.
Lawso, welcome to the pod for the first time.
Thank you. I'm excited to be a part of it. I just wish it were under better circumstances.
I feel we need to set the setting, Needles.
Set it.
Is that coming up, or am I going to set it?
Oh, well, I was going to say the most exciting bit is where we're casting from. And as I said, look, tonight it's Friday night and we are live and unedited from Henson Park in Marrickville, watching the GWS Magoos play Sydney Uni Australian National Football Club, the NEFL team. And so apart from last night's catastrophe, the Squinters can literally not lose. Tonight is a night of perfect synchronicity. Tonight, every result is a great result for the Squinters. We're not on the internet. We are here on the chairs, just down a couple of blocks away from Harry Himmelberg and Aidan Core and a few other people. We haven't asked them to interview them yet.
They look even better live.
Yeah, Harry
They are
Himmelberg, he's
gorgeous.
really tall and attractive.
It's like, what's Hemsworth doing here?
We've just started the second quarter out on the ground. We've got a lapel mic sticky taped to a selfie stick. The score is GWS Magoos 14, 2-2-14, Sydney Uni 106. So come on, everyone. Cheese, you wanted a little bit more?
No, that's enough. But it's a very conflicting evening watching our two great loves, the Giants, play the students tonight.
There it is. Anyway, but before we go and hit on to the first quarter, we do have special comments. He's a Sydney Uni alum as well. He's played many grand finals with us. Unfortunately, he goes for the Cats, but he is the king of asparagus. C. Trizzle, welcome.
Thanks for having me in the Squinters bandwagon.
So just remember, anything you want to say, you just put your hand up and say it, even if it's Cats related. I can edit it out later on. So we're going to go straight on. Firstly, Lawso, nearly halfway through the second quarter, how are Matt Bunting and Steinstein playing?
Oh, well, I don't think Bunting's out there, but you probably wouldn't know if he was. And Steen, I don't know if...
That's a dig.
I don't know if I'd recognise him if I ran into him on the street.
Ooh.
Jeez, what number
You can't
is he?
recognise his thighs?
Oh, not from here.
I'll tell you who I can recognise, Steinstein.
Well, that's what we're just talking about.
No, he's on Buntine.
Oh,
We
really?
moved on to Stein.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but where is
I've
he
missed
now
that
that you've
memo.
recognised him?
42.
Oh, there he is.
He's right here on the wing with thighs out.
Yeah. So to point that out, C. Drizzle was pointing to someone over on the wing. You can't quite... Just visualise that we're near the wings.
Someone's
But-
smoking weed in this car. Needles.
We're sitting at the corner. We're in the left-hand pocket of Henson Park looking south, if you want to find that on G-Maps, right next to the 50-metre arc. So we're going to go on. Lawso, you're a Squinter from way back. What's your Squinter's origin story?
Well, I guess I was born in Melbourne and went to primary school in Melbourne, so footy's always been Aussie rules. But I never really had... That's a lie. I had a team. I went for West Coast.
Why?
I went for Fremantle, so fair play. But
It's a
you
good
were
question.
born in Melbourne.
Yeah, they were good in the early 90s. We had family in
91
Perth, 92, 94 flags.
Close.
And I guess I picked them, but I never really had a passion for them. So come 2009 and there's a whisper of another Sydney team.
Another Western team.
Come 2010, they get a name. Needles, you'd be glad to know that I actually had a GWS T-shirt before they were the Giants and
Really?
before they were orange and charcoal.
When they were a concept.
It loses a bit of impact when I.
Spoken of these
Coco said
colours.
about
Yeah,
that.
And we've only heard them in the midst of legend and time.
Yeah. So it was a white T-shirt with a, ironically or maybe appropriately, AFL coloured blue and red.
Right. What kind of
logo.
blue?
Oh, it was this. Their logo looked very similar to the AFL logo, which might be
Designed by the AFL.
which might be appropriate for where all their funding came from.
Still.
Unfortunately, it loses a bit of impact because I've lost the shirt, but the story stands.
Oh,
It existed.
the story is significantly diminished by the lack of ownership of said T-shirt.
Yeah, so I got off board the Eagles when they went to shit with Cousins and got on board the Giants early doors.
So
and
you deboarded.
deboarded and reboarded.
Isn't that a similar story to you, Needles?
Very similar. As we said, and I was talking to Coco in number one. Thanks, I'll just bring the mic back to myself. And appreciate Cheese for helping with the editing.
Not my first production.
I was in Fremantle. I was on Fremantle, and then I wasn't. But for very similar reasons, but also because Fremantle's a long way from Canberra. So I get to watch them play now and then. Okay, well, also, look, quickly, what's your favourite position and what's your favourite Giants player?
Well, I'll start with the favourite player. I think it's got to be JK. I guess we all know how smooth he is. And the bloke turned down $5 million a game to keep playing for me, so I figure I may as well. Or the least I can do is give him a plug on
When
the
you put it like
podcast.
that, yeah.
Who
So-
offered him $5 million?
Oh, it might have been more. You're right,
About
actually.
8
Yeah,
Melbourne
yeah,
teams,
yeah. So probably Josh Kelly, and then I remodeled myself as a full forward late in my career. So I think that's where I rightly belonged the whole time.
Not to jump ahead, but did Josh let you down last night with that last
He-
left-footed snap?
He
And
might
also
have.
the kick he missed.
He might have.
He misses
Oh,
a lot of kicks apart
he
from
was
that awesome
good.
one.
He was good last night, and I know we'll get onto it, but he's
So-
still my favourite.
We are watching Sydney Uni Neefle, and also you have a distinction by actually being a really, really good footballer and did play. What's your Neefle story?
Yeah. So I played the Sydney Uni's first NEFL game, then inaugural NEFL game, then got promptly dropped, and
that is vicious tackle.
Oh! Right, there's a punch on. No.
is that Aiden Bonner on the bottom?
Aiden Bonner,
Bonner.
push and shove.
Yes!
Umpire throws the ball up, no penalties, Dawson wins it.
If Bardo was here, I think he'd say, rip his head off.
Bardo, we've been boned by Bardo. Bardo should have been here. Yeah, and then once again,
Aiden Bones.
gutted out. But you played the
Where
first
were we?
game of Sydney
Yeah.
Uni
So I
Neefle.
played the first game of Sydney Uni, then was promptly dropped,
was silky
and
mark.
never to play NEFL again. So
One
I
game.
think it was probably
One and done.
an appropriate peak.
I can't see you out there tonight.
No,
Awesome.
I don't want to be out there tonight.
But this is and we're delighted to sort of bring you up for the twos for your first injection into the squad. But I understand that you will soon you'll be our Copenhagen correspondent, captain of our Copenhagen Giant Supporters Club.
Yeah, I think I've just been elected unopposed. I'm moving over in
I moved the
a
motion.
month or so. Yeah.
But you're happy to be patching in and keeping a close eye on the Giants' premiership flag glory.
I'll be keeping a close eye. I think the night games are a lot easier to watch than the day games from Europe, but
So as I just said to Lawson, I did 4 months in Copenhagen, and there is a small league with about 7 teams called the DA.
Daffel?
Can't do the maths, but let's call it the Daffel, which is the Danish football league, and the Giants have a subsidiary in Copenhagen.
Yeah. So I looked it up today. There's the Copenhagen Giants and there's the Copenhagen Barracudas.
So who are you going to play for?
Neither.
Up the Barracudas.
Cooters.
We'll see how we go.
Yeah.
So you've stopped playing now.
I have.
You have stopped
I have.
playing.
My last season was up in Lismore, where I played 5 games and topped the behind kicking.
Right. Well, I just want to point out from a personal. The Henson Park, I played my second last game of football ever here last year in a preliminary final, which we won, Cheese and I. But it was no thanks to me because this was the game where first time in 26 years where I didn't get a kick. No kicks,
0 disposals.
1 ineffective handball, and 3 1%ers, no tackles. So, but I got picked the next week for a grand final we lost. Nonetheless, Henson Park, you will live in infamy. Sea Drizzle, we're obviously boned by Barden, but the fact that we have you here is a wonderful injection to give us your Giants perspective from a Cats supporter fan. What did you think of the game where Giants beat the Cats?
Well, interesting start there, Needles. But Well, I guess for the Cats, it was the loss they needed to have.
Apart from last week.
Apart from
Which is the
last
other loss they
week.
needed to have.
It wasn't after a bye. So.
No.
Yeah, the Giants played exceptionally well, but similar to last night, I guess, for the Giants. The Cats, I think, squandered a lead midway through the last quarter there, and the Giants ran all over them. But
Silky
you know,
segue.
I'd like to sort of see them, fight again in September and see what can happen down at Skilled Stadium.
Do you see a Cats Giants grand final?
Well, I'd be pretty happy about it because it might be easy to get a ticket, but
Could the Cats run with the Giants' holy trinity of Kelly, Phil Davies, and Cogs?
Well, they have their own Kelly.
Kelly, you think?
Yeah.
Big Cheese?
With Dangerfield and Selwood, there's an argument.
Well, I think that the Cats would probably have a bit more cream going there, but
Can the Cats defend our own holy trinity of Finlay,
C3.
Himmelberg, and Jeremy Cameron? Can anyone?
Well, that's a good question. Well, we're delighted to have you here, and just you feel free to give us your comments whenever it comes along. We're going to move on to issues of the week, and obviously the biggest one from the Giants, apart from last night, which we're going to get to at some point very, very quickly, is there's going to be a game in the USA. The Leon Cameron and the AFL and the Giants are very bullish about taking a game for points to the United States, a Giants game, and I feel that I'm here to make a pledge that if there is a game in the United States, the entire Squinters squad will go to that game. We'll set up a GoFundMe thing like Israel Folau did, and if he got it for being Israel Folau, we can get it for supporting the Giants. Yeah, it's only 30 grand or so for the tickets, I expect, and then Bob's your uncle. What do we reckon?
Yeah, I mean,
Playing United States, well, yeah, apart from going there, playing in the United States, good idea about.
I think it's a great idea. I was actually thinking today, so they've got China, they've done New Zealand, they've got the USA. What's wrong with a round where there's a game, every game is internationally? And so there's one in New Zealand, a couple in Asia, a couple in Europe, one in the US, and
Into a bye.
maybe space it out with a bye
Yep.
somehow
Love it.
across 2 weekends, and the other teams have a bye either side. I don't know. I think it's a pretty good idea, but it was my idea.
That's actually genius.
that is.
Motion passed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can we get Gil McLaughlin on the line, please?
Got a couple of
Yeah,
other things
get
we
him
want to
on.
talk to Gil about as
Yeah,
well while we're at it.
Yeah, coming up.
I had a thought that it would be great to see the San Francisco Giants play the curtain raiser for the Giants
With the New York Giants?
in San Fran, with the Giants as a curtain. What's going on here? Is this
No,
the
that
Oz
was
Kickers?
Ozkick, just ran past us.
They have Oz Kick at their NEFL. That's a great initiative.
They've come a long way since I played.
What's going on here? So, and then the other fun fact that I read was that there are 60,000 Australians living in California. So,
Yeah.
Cali, whether it be LA or San Fran, are the two obvious
As long as-
jurisdictions for this game.
As long as he can find a deck. Apparently there's issues finding a big grassy circular deck.
'Cause
Ovoid shaped.
They played a game at UCLA once, but they've redone the
artificial
surface.
turf.
I think we read the same articles.
I think we did. Well, certainly some of the ones I cut and pasted. Kevin Sheedy's behind it, thinks it's a great idea, and brave thinking, blah blah blah. I mean, maybe they'd get a big crowd, but some of the knives are out because it was too ambitious.
Yeah, but Sheedy's a pioneer of the game. Like he took AFL to Greater Western Sydney, right?
Yeah.
So he
And
thinks
took
bigger
Israel Folau to AFL.
He
so.
thinks a lot bigger than a lot of your incumbent Melbourne supporters.
Yeah, so fuck you, Melbourne, and let's go to the United States. So if that happens, everyone, all our listeners, get ready. We'll have a possible or a GoFundMe page. Send the Squinters to the US. Robert's your father's brother. Triz, I saw some supportive comments coming from you. What if it was the Cats and the Giants?
Oh, I would love it no matter who it is.
Would you go?
Anyone.
Anyone?
There you go.
Yeah, sure. St Kilda.
Loves footy.
Love my footy.
Well, in which case, hang on. Cheese has got a point.
Triz rapping in the Giants. Bevo,
Didn't rate it, but
our
yeah.
mate
Tim.
Taranto.
Yeah, absolutely.
I believe Triz was in Texas the other day, were you?
I was in Texas. Yep. I have a Texan girlfriend.
Yes,
So I would be pretty happy about a game in downtown Austin, that's for sure.
Is she based in Texas?
No, she lives in Sydney.
Oh, okay, right. But yeah, right. That's a long distance relationship. Still, you could join, Cuzzy. You could be VP with Tim Taranto's dad to Coco's presidency of the posse, the Giants posse.
Yeah, that would be a pretty good honour for me, actually.
Motion
Wingman
passed.
to Coco's
We're doing a lot of
posse.
motions, getting very political. Okay, so we're looking forward to United States game. Play for points next season. Happy days. There's a bit of a rumour mill, and we've got a couple of good, juicy rumours. I saw on the Giants fan page that Aidan Bonner possibly wants out. We're watching him play today, Aidan Bonner, and he's getting around a bit, and he's a big unit. Thoughts?
He's had 2 kicks, 5 handballs to this point, and 6 tackles, and we're in
this game.
In this game.
Have you got live stats at the NEFL level?
As I said, the NEFL's come a long way
Right,
since
yeah,
2000.
right. Lucky they didn't capture your stats.
Yeah, we're halfway through the second quarter, so
Yeah.
So he's only got 6 touches.
Yeah.
All I've seen is...
You did in your second last game.
Yeah, well, obviously, but I wasn't playing NEFL.
6 tackles is probably more than you got in your whole career, wasn't it, Needles?
That's... Yeah, not inaccurate, I guess.
He was about 15 metres away when he pushed that bloke, and
did.
I wouldn't have wanted to be on the receiving end of that
Was that him?
palm to the chest.
He was the pusher. But Lawso, you had a really good insight that we wanted. It's a third Squinters scoop.
The Paddy Ryder. I don't know. I haven't heard
So,
much about the
don't
haven't heard much about the Aidan Bonner chat, but I heard a word that maybe Paddy Ryder would slot in pretty well to the Giants' best 22, maybe with Mumford on his way out. Come next year, he's sort of out of favour at Port behind Lysett now. I could definitely see him as our
In terms of
first
ability,
ruckman next year. Yeah.
Like he's out of
Yeah,
not their
I
go-to
think,
ruckman.
I don't know. I think he's losing.
Because if we I wouldn't think that Mummy has hundreds of games left. So what's our and now we've lost.
He's out here. There's a couple of young blokes like Matthew Flynn, but I don't think they're pulling up tree stumps.
Yeah, because I think our issue at the moment with Himmelberg and Finlayson as our second ruckman, I just don't think it's quite enough. They're good players, but they're not.
Bonner just didn't do a smother then. Tried to.
Yeah, so I don't know. I wouldn't mind Ryder in orange and charcoal, but it is round 13.
Don't think the Sydney Uni bloke's going to enjoy that on the camera on Monday night.
Sorry, tell us what happened.
Sorry to interrupt there, Lawso, but he...
This is live commentary.
Live commentary really should have backed back into a pack and didn't.
And that's our special comments live game comments from C. Drizzle, also renowned for being accused by the commentators in the 2006 grand final of running up and down on the spot.
Who commentated that?
Don't know who he was.
So it was an
but,
objective. It was an objective.
Hey, leave a gap here in the
commentator.
transcript. We're going to find out. There's number 36 or whatever it was, running up and down on the spot.
That's a high number for Drews.
I'm going to put that in. No, I wouldn't. Why would I?
Healy does well. He can knock it back towards Terry. Terry's running up and down on the spot.
Also, Paddy Ryder to Giants. Happy days.
Student score.
A
which
month
makes
ago,
it 20 to 13, 16 minutes into
3-2
the second
to 2-1.
quarter.
A month ago, Canelio was going to sign, and he still hasn't signed. Are we fine with this? Any thoughts, concerns?
I'm fine with it. I think he'll stay.
Yeah,
there's much more to it
I'm
than that.
comfortable. It's a commercial decision, so ultimately, right? Like
Yeah.
sport's very commercialised. So if I was in his position, I would
Drive a hard
I'd draw out the negotiations. So I sense that's kind of a part of it. You start getting lumped with this sum of money that for a young player, for anyone to set up your life is a lot of money. But ultimately, I feel his heart's in the Giants' homeland, and it will feed into that, and he'll make the right decision when it comes to it.
God, that makes me feel better. I really hope it's
nearly
true,
well
and
done.
it's not just speculation.
Well done.
Well, that's the first quarter done and dusted. We're going to move on to a very, very short second quarter. A game was played last night between the Essendon Bombers and the GWS Giants at Marvel Stadium. The words that came through, there was a bit of a deathly silence, a few moments on the fan thread, on the Squinters thread on Facebook, until, can't remember who it was, someone said fuck, and Neil Dunn said absolutely fucked, and then Bubs said we fucked that so bad. I mean, is anyone got
Bubs
any?
doesn't swear much, does he?
Has anyone got any rate? Lawso's got a lot of stats. 10-11 to 12-5. We kick 11-10, it's a tie. We kick 12-9, we win by 6. There were a few missed goals. We miss a lot of goals. That shits me how we miss a lot of goals. The Bulldogs miss a lot of goals, apparently. Lawso, I didn't really watch, right? Because this therapy, I'm trying to force myself to watch the game because I need to talk about it on a podcast. I still don't watch because if I watch, the universe knows that I'm watching, and then the universe will make sure that the Giants lose.
Is that legit? Like you feel like you're
I dead
cursed?
set. I'm not cursed. It's just the universe fucks with me. I turned over in the last quarter when the Souths finished, and I was sick of watching Star Trek Into Darkness. And within 30 seconds each time I turned over, the Bombers kicked a goal. So it's evidence based, right? This is not a theory. This is beyond.
Well, on that topic of curses, and before we get into
It's
any
not
stats,
curses. It's curses. It's just evidence.
I do have an apology to make because a bit earlier in that thread that Needles just mentioned, about halfway through the third quarter, I think I wrote Giants by 6 goals plus from here, JC to kick 7, toot toot, all aboard.
Yeah, well, which is fair enough, but that's not going to affect the result. The only thing that affects the result is me watching the game if we're on television. That's the thing. Otherwise, we're fine. We were 18 points up halfway through this third quarter, last quarter, and we went out. That's a problem.
Yeah. Oh, it's disappointing because you like to think that over the years of is it now 7 years of history, you might have expected that 2 or 3 years ago, but you're now at a point where our once young players are now 25-year-old men. And so those games, that should be, when you're arguably a top 4 team playing a team struggling to keep up with the 8, if you're 19 points up in the fourth quarter, you should just put them away. It should be clinical. But they just gave him a couple.
Trizzle mentioned that the Cats gave up a game, but at that point the Giants were second, right? The Giants gave up a lead to Essendon, who were 8th, 9th and battling. And Collingwood don't lose that game, and Geelong don't lose that game from that position. And probably West Coast, and probably Brisbane at this moment.
Yeah. I think overall, I don't think we were that bad last night. I wasn't too disheartened, but I think that last quarter, something like 6 of the last 7 goals, 18 of the last 20 inside 50s. And I think we left our natural game in the sheds and stopped running it and stopped overlapping and stopped
Especially
handing.
in that last quarter.
I saw those comments. It was trying to save it.
I think we slowed it down, and we slowed it down too much.
JC took a few big marks coming out of the back, kind of the back line to play that kind of tempo footy, but the game wasn't there to be tempoed at that point.
Yeah, I think Essendon did to us what we do to other teams, and run and overlap and handball and get the one out the back. And I didn't think we were bad, but I thought, we should have closed.
When the Giants do that, those small handballs, they look immaculate.
Slick.
They do,
There was
7, 8
goal
handballs.
in the second quarter where the one that Finlayson, or was it third quarter? Finlayson kicked
second, There was 15 minutes in the second quarter where that's all there was, and you thought that this was just going to blow out. Yeah.
Or Bruce McAvaney was going blue in the face, going, they just need to crush him. They just haven't put him away. They haven't put him away, and we didn't put him away.
Can we talk some positives?
Yes. Well, actually, I'll just say one thing. I heard today Chris Fagan, all he cares about, if you have more scoring shots, there's only one thing you need to fix up, which is goal kicking. Right?
Yep. We've obviously lost Bartman for this week, which is a big out, but Bartman is massive on the theory that goal kicking is such an important part of the game. Why don't you train that half the year? Like, it gets so little attention from a training and recruitment and energy perspective that it's almost like it's an afterthought, but it should be.
It's obviously mental as well. Like it's healthy because everyone knows how to kick. And someone was, it was Will Anderson. He was saying Bontempelli, he'll lace out someone from 70 metres coming out of the back line, as will Josh Kelly. But put him in front of the big sticks 40 metres out, it's 50-50.
Yeah.
You don't know where it's going.
Except big filthy Phil Davis. How good was that?
Yeah, Canberra boy.
First goal since he played with Izzy Folau in 2012.
Bloody hell. No wonder he looks so excited.
6 years of nutty runs.
Did you watch the game, Triz? What do you think?
I watched about the last quarter and a half, and I thought it was actually one of the better games I've seen for the year. It was good to see a really close contest under the roof at Marvel. I'm not sure the Thursday night football thing really works for Melbourne. A lot of people go to work the next day. I think it's the last day before school holidays. Well, yeah, exactly. But
25,000 for Marvel.
Yeah, like Marvel 25,000's low. You would have thought Essendon, they're thereabouts this year. Might have got a better crowd. But anyway, I thought the football was really good, and I think the Giants are a great team to watch when they get that run and link and handball going off halfback as you talk.
And even better when they fuck it up.
Yep. And completely agree on the goal kicking thing. If we go back to the old American sport side of things, those punters and kickers in the NFL, they never miss or very, very rarely miss. And I think there's arguably more pressure on them because that's all they do in a game. And AFL players, are just pretty bad at it.
Although, because the balls are generally stationary, it's easy to kick. I mean, maybe go back to place kicking. Last time was place kicked was in the 60s.
They were playing indoors last night.
Lawso, you weren't working today like apparently a lot of people in Melbourne.
It's Friday. No.
You did a lot of stats. You did some stat work. We're not going to mention the umpires in the room because Mal has got something stored and he wants to really get in. But there were some dodgy ones. Anyway, Lawso, stats.
Not a heap of stats. A couple of interesting ones though. I think one thing that we're good at is our forward pressure, and with Stormy, our favourite, and Langdon and Reid down there. I guess Sam Reid came out with 6 1%ers, which is second only to Phil Davis, who had 9.
Mate.
And he played 97. He played 97% of time on the ground, which I thought was pretty good.
Phil Davis was excellent, by the way.
Phil Davis is always excellent.
All Australian.
I think that's all the stats I got off the top of my head at the moment.
The one.
Yeah.
They're not off the top of your head. You've got
You have
notes in front of
pages
you.
there. Pages.
You want me to just read through who had how many disposals?
All right.
Yeah, right. Caniglio
Go
had
through.
23.
That's a lot.
Zach Williams had 29. Josh Kelly had 28, as did Hopper. Zach Merritt had 28 for them. I thought it was interesting. One thing that
Shield.
What was Taranto?
Taranto had 18.
Quiet, actually. For
Yeah.
But
We missed
For
him.
Bevo?
We missed Bevo in his full flight.
yeah. But on that topic of Cogs and Kelly and Dylan Clark, their tagger went to Cogs early, but then Kelly got away from him. Then he went to Kelly. Then Cogs got away from him, and then I think they just sort of gave up on tagging, which comes back to your conversation last week about
how do you break the tag?
yeah.
Been really good.
Yeah, or have 3 people that need tagging. So I thought, yeah, that's enough for now.
Yeah, and I mean, once again, talk me through it because I was too busy hiding. Everyone thought Mumford was going to tear it in the last quarter because he didn't have Bell Chambers,
Yeah.
and he didn't. Hooker and the younger McKernan boy, got over him.
Yeah, they were, to their credit, considering the circumstances of losing your ruckman, being 19 points down, you've got to pay credit where it's due, and Essendon were really good in the last kind of 10-15 minutes, and their 2 kind of tall forwards stepped up, and they both kicked crucial goals in the last kind of 10 minutes and were awesome. So should Mummy have done more at times? I felt he was a bit clumsy. He gave away a few, and I love the big swordfish, but at times he gave away a few frees. In the last kind of 2 or 3 minutes when it would go back to the square, you just didn't have confidence that the Giants would clear it out the middle. You sense that we're going to be on the receiving end of the centre clearance.
Yeah, I think Mummy's given away something like 10 or 15 more frees than the second most amount of free kicks against this season. So
It lacks subtlety.
it's not subtle.
And if you're giving away that, you need to be, and I mean he is, and he's obviously been super effective, but you need to be really effective to make up for it or to compensate for it. Was it touched? I wasn't watching. Was it touched?
Can I read Coco's text to the group today?
Absolutely.
Any updates on Adam Kennedy's broken finger? Hope he's okay.
Apparently it was ripped off, according to, there was another
Yeah,
insight.
to which our good friend, yet to debut on the podcast, Growler said, I heard he ripped the nail right off his finger. So
Yeah, it
But
was.
it was interesting that I thought that the fact that the game played
That's
on
unbiased.
quick enough for the third umpire to review, surely if that's going to be the rule, you need to implement some kind of cricket, the big T to review a decision as a player, because it just sounds like they just didn't have time to process the footage before they could make a call on whether it was touched.
Paying the people $250 a game to do that sort of review. That's what they're paying the AFL.
Yeah.
Just quickly, going back to the footy, nearly half-time, it's good to see that this high-scoring fanaticism is really attractive in the NEFL as well. It's nearly half-time, it's 22-19, so there's goals galore.
Who's big 26? Lawson?
That's Dawson Simpson.
Yeah, he's big boy.
Big.
Ex-cat.
How many games for the Cats team?
No, not many.
He
maybe,
played a decent season
maybe
once, didn't he?
yeah, probably 30, I'd say, for the Cats.
Can we get some stats on him too? He's fucking massive. Look at the size of him.
Yeah, Driz, if you could...
Get some data too.
Well, any more comments? Or we're just going to crack... I mean, I was pretty pissed. I was kicking the cat left, right and centre. It didn't really help. I've sort of come good last night because they keep reverting back to, well, if Footscray can win it from 7th, then the Giants can win it from 3rd. But it's there's a few hard games coming up before we've got our pancake walk to the finals. I think Port and the Magpies... Oh, hang on. Dawson stats.
Big Dawson, he's He's 210 centimetres tall and 109 kilos.
That's a big person to give birth to. Yeah,
he looks
right.
that big.
He does. 210. That's one below Mason Cox and
Maybe
and
we
Sandilands.
paraphrase Triz and say last night was the loss we needed to have.
yeah. Another loss we needed to have, as well as the Adelaide loss. But losing against half-assed teams like Melbourne, Hawthorn and Essendon in Melbourne it bodes me ill. All right, well, better luck next time. Kick fucking straighter next time, and take it out of the umpire's hands. Don't give him a chance to screw you. Kick the goals and away we go. He says like it's easy, having not got a touch at this game last time he played. Right, into the third quarter. You sure, how Lawso, you're still desperately looking through Leafs pages and pages. No more stats?
No more stats at the moment.
Righto. The third quarter, which is next week's game.
Oh, can we touch on Jackson Haitley? I think who's sitting a couple of bays along from us here, and his third game last night. I thought he looks quite comfortable out there.
I saw him take that mark in the last quarter, which is
grab.
floated across.
He doesn't waste it. I think he's a good player, and I think he'll probably stay out. What do you reckon, Chiefs?
Young Haitley's quite new to me, so I was just doing some research last night, getting up to speed on him.
Do you want to just do a slow walk past him, like you're not looking at him, but you're looking at him just to see what he looks like?
I don't know you. Do you know me?
I gave him a good once over when he walked towards me as well.
All right, well, there we go. Light at the end of a short tunnel. That was the Essendon game. But I agree. He played well, and he looks comfortable. But, I mean, so does Isaac Cumming. He looks comfortable as well.
Also, how good is it when Adam Kennedy and those chicken legs just tuck the ball under his arm, run what looks like 30 metres, get into trouble, have to go on the left foot and turn it over. I love it. It's bad for it serves us poorly, but it's bloody great.
I mean, he's one for a turnover. I saw one. Apparently, Dylan Shield is the second most turnoverable. He gives the second most turnovers in the comp. Who's number one? I thought it was Stormy Daniels, but it's not Stormy Daniels. That's a hint.
Wouldn't be a giant, would it?
Caleb Daniel. Yeah, that's why I was confused. Yeah, so next week.
Oh, we're close to the footy here. Any commentary from Triz?
Could have been out on the full right then, just that the umpire didn't have a bar in my hands going out.
Aiden Bonnars, he's in the middle, and Dawson Simpson, so that's two people we know.
And Daniel Lloyd is probably not too far off a look in.
Yeah, that's
as
true.
well.
Is he playing on the ball?
Yeah, I think he had 30 odd last week in the twos. They had a bye the week before.
The Kalani Vale hero.
Could we get some stats on maybe ex-AFL players out there for Sydney Uni? Is that saying that also can...
If anyone heard, when they say Ship, that's Nick Shipley. So that's his nickname, Ship.
Go Ship!
How'd they come up with that?
Yeah. I don't know. So, what do you think, Lawso?
Wait, who we got here? Former AFL players out there. I guess we got Will Sierakowski, who played at Hawthorn and North.
Oh, this is for Sydney Uni.
Yeah.
Sierra?
I think he might be the only one.
Monty Cromwell.
There's but for the Giants, there's a fair few listed players out there. Shipley, Cumming, Daniel Lloyd, Aiden Bonner, Bobby Hill, who's not too far off a game, I reckon. Big Dorse, who we've talked about, and Steen
smallest guy on the
Stein.
field.
And Matty Buntoon is out there, and he's had one handball.
Shout out to Coco.
That's the same as I...
No. Mine was ineffective. At least it might have gone to someone.
But he's had 2 tackles, which is probably two more than.
It's too rich for my blood.
Can I just ask, where do the GWS top-up players come from? To fill the NEFL team when non-listed players are either injured?
I don't know the answer to that. Do you?
Tim, it's not Tim Barton.
The system's changed in the last couple of years.
They use a couple who came from Sydney Uni now and then.
Oh, that was a fucking great tackle.
Who was it? No,
Let him know.
Fair tackle.
I mean, this is bad for the Giants. In theory, they should be smashing Sydney Uni, and they are definitely not. 21, 23. Well, why not? I mean, Sydney Uni have been smashed recently. Aspley and they did them by 80 points. And the Brisbane Lions 2s crushed them last week.
I assume you get more continuity at the Sydney Uni level with a player retention. A bit like Port Melbourne does very well in the VFL because they have the same playing list, whereas every other VFL team they play against loses a lot of players to the higher grade.
Not unreasonable, but even still, Brisbane Lions are dominant this year.
In the NEFL?
In the NEFL.
I'm not up to speed on the NEFL.
Yeah.
And on that note of losing players to other things, we lost a couple to the Allies, the State 18s who played Vic Metro today, and Tom Green, who's part of the GWS Academy, touted as a top 10 draft pick, had 33 and has been sort of
He is. I've heard about
spouted as a Paddy Cripps-like game.
Really?
Which
How
is
old
pretty
is he?
promising. I guess he'd be 17.
Superman.
Yeah, so
Paddy Cripps,
Is that
who's
enough-
a chance
is that
at winning the
enough stats for
Brownlow
you, Niels?
with winning 4 games. Yeah, man, you smashed it. Thank you
Good,
very much. Okay, we're going to get to the review. So the problem with the Thursday night game is that we haven't seen any other teams form for this weekend, but it is versus the Chris Fagan. That was halftime. The Chris Fagan coached Brisbane Lions at the Beanstalk in Western Sydney at Homebush
we've got a
on
10-day break.
Sunday afternoon on the 7th of July. Yeah, they should be refreshed.
Pretty much another bye, really, isn't
Give or
it?
take. Yeah.
Do you feel the buy is that valuable?
Not for
Like-
Geelong.
Horrible for the Cats.
Yeah,
They're 8 from 8 after the bye.
What about on pre-like finals after like that week off? How'd that been going?
Recent finals form is also awful.
Right. Well, there you go. What do we reckon?
How we'll go in a couple of weeks. Feels like that. I think we'll be all right. I don't think we've
Great home form,
off the top
but
of my
Brisbane are good.
Yeah, but we haven't lost to them since 2013. I'm pretty sure. Haven't lost to them at the Beanstalk since
It's another great start.
maybe the year before that. Happy to be corrected on that, but I think it feels right. It feels good.
What do you think about Brisbane's form? They are this year genuinely good. Charlie Cameron is a jet. Hugh McCluggage looks like the real deal. They're obviously benefiting from having old mate Luke Hodge coaching up the back. They're a football team. This is
It's,
not a flash in the pan.
You know when it's a long time between drinks for a footy club, so obviously Brisbane did very well in the early 2000s, but they've been a team who's been close to the bottom for many years. So
Years and years.
I think generally as a football
But
spectator,
they've
you
actually
enjoy
convinced people to go there.
Yeah, you
Lachie Neale.
enjoy seeing them. We've got Gabe Robbie here. Special comments. So for mine, you would safely say that Brisbane will get up this week, and then we find ourselves on the same amount of premiership points as them.
Is that right?
Which is 36 apiece. Yeah. So to me, as much as I think as long as I pot on this cast, I'll always tip the Giants. I do see it as a bit of a danger game.
Yep.
And as I was fortunate enough to have a few dumplings with our good friend Bubs, who is also yet to premiere on the podcast. His debut. What'd I say? Premiere?
Yeah, like his
a
first
movie.
Yeah, his first movie.
His movie appearance. He had 2 good observations, which I'll quickly relay.
Was this lunchtime dumplings?
Yeah, lunchtime today, Sky Phoenix. We're going to miss De Boer because he would have done a great job on Lachie Neale, who is obviously an emerging superstar. And his second comment is the fact that we get young Lachie Whitfield back.
He'll be back.
He's the difference.
I think so too.
he's the
I'm
guy,
waiting for Lachie
yeah.
Whitfield to come back. Collarbone fixed. He'll just fly.
He would have kicked the goal with 70 seconds left last night to win it.
Yeah.
And I just want to correct myself. We've actually never lost to the Lions at Homebush. We've only
The
played them there
Beanstalk.
at the Beanstalk. We've only played them there twice, but
Well, yeah,
we're
2-2. Absolutely. Do you have thoughts on the Giants' renaissance, or no, not the Giants' renaissance. Sorry, the Lions' renaissance. Like it's been.
I think they're an exciting team. I think it's good for footy in the northern states. I think they've drafted well. They've traded where they could, and I guess between Lachie Neale, Cam Rayner, McCluggage, Hipwood, I think they're pretty like.
Well, McStay, the guys in the back as well. Harris Andrews, the guy with the weird carpet first name.
Can't say I've watched a lot of them since the grand final of 04, but
Is that what's happening at the moment?
Geelong Cats highlights.
Geelong Cats highlights.
What's the score?
It's just about to start.
This is old highlights.
It's just a review of the last time they met, actually. Geelong won by 24 points in round 3, 2019 against the Adelaide Crows.
That was the week before they lost to the Giants.
Correct.
Where's the game choose?
It's at Skilled Stadium.
Ooh.
Skilled.
Well,
Be
the
good.
bookie's saying
Cats would have to go in favourites.
Cats are $1.22 favourite. Apparently Adelaide have been training on a narrow ground, trying to prepare for their time at GMHBA.
Interestingly, we were at $1.22 in the 4th quarter last night. Needles.
I don't want to. I just, yeah. For fuck's sake. Right, well, I think we can. So, reasonable level of confidence that we should do the Brisbane. But, I mean, we need to win it, obviously. Otherwise, things start looking fairly severe. And our home game form is good. Brisbane Lions are a good team, but we should be a better team.
That's
a fair
a
summary?
fair synopsis.
What's our crowd? What's our minimum crowd demands? Not expectations, demands.
What day is it? Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday afternoon.
Sunday.
Graveyard.
Family Day. Surely 15,000 for Family Day.
15. That's maximum, just about.
I think, be expecting 12, hoping for 15. Is that fair?
I'm comfortable with those numbers.
I think they're overs. We should, if we don't get 10, I'm going to march around. I'm going to march from Canberra. GoFundMe. Yeah, exactly. Get me to the crowd so that I can watch.
Do they run buses from Canberra? Is that an initiative that you could...
Sorry, this is a silence of what a good idea. I don't know, but I mean, because we get 12.
Fast train,
we
mate.
always get 12 at the
Really?
at the Golden Egg.
Should we be playing more games at the Golden Egg?
Well, it's a fortress.
Do you know the
Only lost one game, it
membership
was for
base
Fremantle.
of Canberra-based Giants fans?
No, I don't.
It'd be interesting to...
It would be. As
Of our,
opposed
of
to
our
Western
20,
Sydney.
20, did we click 20,000 members? I think we did.
Yeah, well, on the website these days, it's the drive to 30,000.
Right. Well, what year? 2030.
This year, well, as soon as possible, 2030. 30 by 2030. Okay, well, look, this is the last quarter. Finally, it is play on at all costs. Going to be talking about whatever we want. The first and most important thing we need to talk about, I want to bring up, is that we've received our first listener email to neversurrenderpod@gmail.com. This gives us, I think, legitimacy. People are downloading the pod and they're responding. And the person who responded, first person, Bomber Bim, you are a legend. And he said, "Morning, G-Boys. Loving the new podcast. Yeah. Just a bit disappointed you couldn't find more than 9 All-Australians among the current playing group." Fair cop. I also picked up the subtle jibes about Shield gaining a few kilos since joining the Bombers. That was Bardo, I think, who was jibing. Maybe Shane Carter's is still organising a few imports for him. Perhaps his new haircut is linked to his property development work on the side down here. Maybe the Giants just weren't offering him opportunities in what is no doubt his first love. But it's all very well to talk about Stormy making the All-Australian squad. Will he have his hands full with Conor McKenna, the Irishman, and with Sard on Thursday night? And who will be the Ice Warrior who stops Dylan Clark from shutting down Cogs or Kelly or whoever gets the job on? Looking for answers in the next edition. Just before we go on, we've obviously there's a small problem with our format in that we can't answer questions about the week coming up, and we can't forecast about the game to come. So if anyone wants to have questions about the actual football, they need to ask us questions about the game before the game we just reviewed or the game after the one that's just coming up. Apart from that, we're ready to go. And we can talk in hindsight. Dylan Clark, he tried to shut down Cogs and Kelly and failed miserably.
Yeah, it seems like it. I think, what did I say before? He went to Cogs first, then flipped over to Kelly, and then they both ended up getting 28 odd. So, yeah, I don't know.
Is he a
I don't know what
renowned
he did.
tagger? Or he's like a poor man's De Boer?
Wait, poor man's
he's
poverty-stricken De Boer.
Yeah, I think he's their tagger, as you discussed last week. Does everyone have one?
Yeah.
Don't know.
No, not anymore. Who was the Ice Warrior? That's a fucking big plane. I think it's taking off. He will have his hands full with Conor McKenna, the Irishman, with Sard on Thursday night. Well, and he was all over Conor McKenna, the Irishman, and Sard on Thursday night until the last quarter when they unleashed.
Yeah.
Apparently, I've been told. I read in a report.
His goal from kind of 55 out on the run last night, McKenna.
Oh, yeah.
That was awesome.
Stormy got one as well, though, didn't he? Am I right? You watched the replays.
Also.
Yep, yeah, he did. He kicked one goal straight.
Stormy.
There it
Never
is.
misses.
Yeah, so 1-1. One to Connor, one to Stormy. We'll call it a tie. But thank you, Bomber Bim. Your contribution, while
Should
poorly
give us an
timed,
update on the
was
footy.
fabulous.
I think the Crows just kicked him.
Crows 6-0.
Look, the other thing I want to mention is we are having our first ever proper special guests next week. A little bit of a teaser. We're going to be talking to Murray and Katie, who are Giants fans who got engaged next to Dove Lake in Tasmania. But the key point, lots of people get engaged, but their key point was that they were wearing matching Giants fleeces, which is sick fucks. But I'm looking forward to talking to them.
And road tripping from the away game in Hobart to the away game in Adelaide.
Is that what they were doing?
Multiple away games.
What superstars! So that's going to be a wonderful conversation. Obviously, the internet will be fine and that'll work out well. But so just, if you haven't tuned in this one, tune in next one because we're going to be talking to Murray and Katie what it's like to get engaged wearing fleece on a massive hook through Tassie to Adelaide. And also, one quick thing, we've got our first quasi-celebrity listener. I got a message on my phone from who could have been the next treasurer, Chris Bowen, and he said he's a Squinter forever and is always listening. So thanks, Chris. If there are any other celebrities with Chris who wants to listen, you are welcome.
Is he a Westie or is he a
Yeah. No,
Giants fan?
he's west of Marrickville, well and truly.
Right.
Both.
But has he always followed the Giants?
As I understand it.
Right.
I saw a photo with him with a scarf on once.
Got it.
So, there we go. We accept all people into the Squinters squad. And if you get married doing something Giantsy, we'll try and give you a chance to talk on the pod. Anyone else? Look, play on. Anything else? What are we going to do? Giants scored a goal. Ablett. No, not Giants. The Cats.
The Cats.
I'm intrigued to hear from Lawso. He's got 7 pages.
I got a lot of things I want to talk
Go
about,
for
but
it.
they're mainly
Bring
just
them up.
my
We've got time.
opinions.
Yeah,
Well,
that's the point. Play on at all costs.
I guess the one thing that I was interested in is on our injury list, who's actually going to slot back into the best 22. I've got it in front of me. I guess the short-term ones are sort of Aiden Core, Jai Caldwell, Lockie Whitfield.
Apparently, Jai Caldwell's unreal. Phil Davis loves him.
I understand Aiden Call's about 30 metres over there. Should you
Lawso,
go
did
and-
you want to
should
talk?
go and get him? Or
I don't think Aiden Core slots into our best 22. I'll put it that way.
we'll keep a wide berth.
A bashful smile.
But
Whitfield.
Lockie Whitfield's a couple of weeks off. He'll slot in. I don't think there's a spot for Lockie Keefe. He's a month off. And then I guess De Boer is the only other one we're waiting on. So we're not, other than, of course, the Cal Ward big loss, we're not looking too bad for injuries at the moment.
You got an update on Johnny Patton?
It's just still says TBC.
But does that mean years? Like, is he any chance this year?
I think he'll be at Hawthorn next year.
Right.
Whoa,
What kind of money?
That's another scoop.
I don't know.
You didn't drop that
Where's
at the
that
start.
chat?
Nah,
Like,
just-
what's that? Just a little inkling.
No, it just seems like
Feel it in your waters.
I did hear it mentioned, but it's probably just another one of our players being linked with Hawthorn, as they all seem to be.
Right. What's the correlation there? They've got cash
there's
to
a few.
burn.
There's a few at Collingwood. There's a couple at Fremantle. We have a lot of players linked with other places.
Yeah,
Carlton.
Yeah.
So John Patton and Hawthorn.
Yeah. The other one, on that note, something I'd be interested to hear your opinions on is and I know we don't like to talk about players we've lost.
I just will say though, the players that were out, if you look at Collingwood's list of people who are out, they've got an unbelievable amount of injuries and suspensions.
Right.
Jaden Stephen, Gambler.
Yeah.
But
you can wear them during the year, right? And then it's just the football gods that what comes together comes final.
absolutely
So
no,
you
but they're
can-
still second. That's my point with with a half an A-list
Yeah.
team out.
and we're third.
Yeah, with only a couple of players that come back in. But Lockie the difference Whitfield.
Yeah, I reckon of them, Whitfield will come in a couple of weeks. De Boer will come in a couple of months, and hopefully we don't lose too many in the meantime. But
And you wanted Cheese's opinion on?
I can't remember. But another bloke I reckon who's a chance from the twos is Bobby Hill, one of our draftees last year. He's running around out there. We haven't really noticed him, but I think he's got a bit of chat about him, a bit of excitement.
What's his
Sort of
X
fast.
factor? Also?
He's a nippy forward with good skills, from what I hear. I've never seen the bloke play, but
Related to Bradley Hill and Stephen Hill. Yeah, from Western Australia. He's sort of
Right.
part of that greater clan, as I understand.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds
Ian
like
Hill
he
is
plays
his actual
a
name, but
similar role to Toby, which is undebunkable. If that's a word.
different. Toby's more talent based as opposed to skill, not talent based. He really relies on his positioning as opposed to his ultra speed.
I was watching some Giants video footage, news fan stuff last night, and his comment on a media interview was, "This is the way I've always played footy, and I'm not about to change," which I loved.
Testify.
Knows exactly
Go
what
fuck
he's
yourself
about.
well.
Yeah.
that's good.
Also, more opinions.
I guess
Oh, you were talking about, I think the opinion that you
Yeah,
wanted
yeah,
to talk
just-
about was who else is leaving.
no, about players that we have lost and who we wish we hadn't. I guess it's something that I think about a bit, and I guess Adam Treloar comes to the front of my mind.
I want Treloar back.
Treloar's up there. I think Rory Lobb is valuable and will become more and more valuable elsewhere, and would have done here.
Freo.
Yeah.
He's a
How's he going this year? I haven't seen many.
Okay, wasn't once again wasn't tearing up tree stumps and did his shin on the hard surface at Optus Stadium, so he's had a stress factor.
I miss his forearm tat. I feel like they just added.
You miss
an-
his half, his third,
Yeah, I felt like it
three-quarter
added
length
a-
sleeves.
Added a depth to the Giants that we've kind of lost in a way.
Yeah, Treloar back would be good. I mean, Taylor Adams is a weapon, but is injured regularly.
Yeah. Do we have enough sleeve tats in the Giants?
Well, maybe that's why we need Daniel Lloyd back in. He's got a
Right.
couple of tats.
Yeah,
He's
okay.
running around out here.
As the students run past us, I
Not a
think
lot
they
of
look
tats on them.
tap free.
Just like
Maybe
09.
a few lower back
Maybe the long
tats.
sleeve, he's covering him up.
Yeah, we can only hope.
For mine, Chalor was the big loss. Taylor Adams is Devon Smith, I guess.
Shield
But
last night.
the list goes on.
Shield kicked that first goal last night, which was a beautiful left foot, curled it back in. I think he had 22 touches without my stats in front of me like Lawso. So I think he played well, but at no point was I thinking, geez, we missed him last night.
No, see, and Taranto steps up.
Yeah, well, I was tracking his stats. I was hoping, willing,
Taranto.
Bevo to outstat Dylan, and then I was going to bring it up tonight. But as it pans
We'll
out,
just skate over it. Yeah, right.
We'll just edit this bit out.
Oh, yeah.
He had 18 touches to Dill's
22.
22.
The Donnybrook hairdo.
Exactly.
Was that it?
Yeah. Look, I got more opinions, but we'll save them for other weeks.
No other. Well, from Copenhagen. Opinions from Copenhagen.
Yeah.
Well,
Also-
I mean, because we're about to wrap up, I guess. We're going to watch the start of the second
Can we
half.
have one more opinion? Lawson?
Yeah, one more
I feel
opinion.
you got one more that you want to.
Well, I guess
unfair.
it's the
Oh, hello.
the age-old comparison of the trajectory, approach and the subsequent trajectory of the Suns compared to our approach and our current trajectory. And I guess in hindsight, it's very clear. But even at the time, I felt like the way we went about it, getting the 3 best 21-year-olds in the country to lead, and then just going hard at 17-year-olds, has really proven itself. And I think it stands up, despite the list we went through of who we've lost, over a pretty short-sighted, in hindsight, approach from the Suns, going big and big money, but then trying to get a couple of Band-Aid players to be competitive early. And I guess the results.
I feel we should throw to Triz and inject a Gary Abbott comment.
I just wish the Giants still had Stevie J running around. I'd watch them a lot more.
No, well, yeah, Law, so
We
you're
missed
absolutely
Stevie
right.
J in that. When was it? When he got
2016.
injured for the 2016
He didn't get injured.
prelim?
He punched. He kneed
Yeah,
Kennedy in the head.
not hard enough.
Not hard enough. Well, yeah, motherfuckers. That was disappointing. 2016. I completely agree with you, Lawso, but I'm still over the fact that I thought 2016 was our year. We were coming like a bunch of maniacs, and
Would it have been too premature? Like, you don't, as a fan, do you need to suffer before you rise?
I
to
didn't feel I
greatness?
did. Having gone for Fremantle for however long, since 93, I didn't feel I
lifetime of
needed
suffering.
more suffering necessarily. I can understand why other teams would have been irritating, but they were playing so well. Stevie J goes out when he was playing some good footy, and Callum Ward gets injured. And 2016 was it. The orange wave, it was the thing.
But to wrap up Lawso's point about list management,
Just yell.
essentially. So we got an A380 going over Marrickville, but I sense that you do think that the Giants are on the cusp of something potentially great, where you feel that the Gold Coast are just a real kind of mid-level
Not even
franchise.
They're in their 17th rebuild. Mind you, they do get bigger crowds than the Giants regularly.
What kind of numbers?
12 to 15, I think.
Is that a reflection of shitney sporting crowds?
Like a
if you
really
look at-
good
if you-
question.
If you look at the average league crowds in Sydney, which is its primed game,
It's a dumpster fire.
I think they sit at under 10,000. So maybe it's as much a reflection of the people of Sydney as it is of the franchise.
Which is apparent, and I was listening to speculation earlier on today. The issue is that Sydney was doing terribly, and then made a grand final, and then a decade later, won a grand final, and since then, it's been up and down, but it's always been above 20 and a bit.
Yeah.
Right, and Sydney crowds need a flag, and once you wave,
Yeah.
you lock it in.
It's like when the Wanderers a couple of years.
Never got there,
Yeah, but I think they were kind of 20,000 plus when they were winning.
but they never
so-
got the chocolates, and when they did
Oh,
for
really?
the
They got to the
they got to the grand final, lost
finals.
it a couple of times.
Right.
They won the Champions League,
Yeah.
but in Saudi Arabia, I think, which was
Right.
difficult for our crowds to get to.
But it was a similar era to the Giants launch. So if you took two
Very much so.
Western Sydney sporting franchises that launched at a similar time, and you had one bubbling around at 7 to 10,000 fans, and you got one 20 plus with flares.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's hard. I mean, I think that's a problem. You can see the thrill, even if you're paying less money, of paying in front of 50,000 and 70,000. Like, I could understand how that would be tempting, even though you're in the Melbourne bubble.
Yeah.
I would be tempted by that sort of crowd.
Is Skoda too big? Should we decommission a few stands at the Beanstalk?
Really make it intimate. We'll put that to Dave Matthews. See what he thinks. And we have. This is a new Squinters opinion from our Giants fan. No, Cats fan.
It's a good buy, I think.
Oh, you're off. I thought you had one more thing to say.
No, I was trying to like. This is awkward now, sorry, but I was like trying to put up my hand to say that I'm going to hit the road, leave the students to it in the second half against the Giants.
But you'll be here tomorrow for Old Boys Day.
I'll be around for Old Boys Day tomorrow.
Sydney University Australian National Football Club Old Boys Day. All of us are old boys. One of the reasons why we're all up here. It'll be lovely to see you then. Thank you very much for your wonderful comments, Cats-orientated comments.
Thanks for having me, and let's hope for a Cats-Giants grand final, I guess we'd all say.
All right then. Shake your hands around. Lawso, you're comfortable with that about the? I mean, you're right on Suns.
Yeah. I've voiced my opinion.
I feel we could wrap it up here. The game is. Oh no, it's just started, but it's suddenly gone very, very quiet. No planes in the air. So yeah, Sydney Uni Old Boys is tomorrow. If you're listening to this in a couple of days after it's been, make sure you get down there. And also subscribe and review the pod. We are on Apple Podcasts and Acast and Pocket Casts, wherever you get your pods. But it's 5 stars or fuck off. We accept 5-star reviews, and everyone else can get bent. Share it around so more people can have opinions, and speculate with us or at us at neversurrenderpod@gmail.com. Bomber Bim, you're a hero. We'll see you next time. Fee fi fo fum.
Never surrender.
Never surrender.
There's this name that's been on my mind.
So this is your 3/4 time update. It is Sydney Uni 6-4-40, GWS Giants 5-10-40. We're just moving into the huddle now. Sydney Uni huddle. The coach is whispering.
Bit of Ariana.
If not, I won't use it. Giants kicked a goal with 1 minute to go ahead by 3 points, and Sydney Uni had a kick for goal. The siren went as the ball was in the air. A final snap at the very last moment. You couldn't hear the siren for the plane. Kick floated to the right. So it ends Sydney Uni 8-6-54, GWS Giants 7-14-56, and that is your game at Henson Park. And that is the Never Surrender by the Squinters for another week.
They would know the first part's easy. It's just go. Then you kneel like you've been made a knight. Then EO, and then you got it right. It's Cornelio.
Release it quickly, Cornelio.
Just take the time. Oh, it's Cornelio.
Getting it right, Stephen Cornelio.
Yeah, there's a guy.
I got back on top of the game. Next hardest working player, maybe Caniglio.